Vice Chair Crow, Secretary Hensick,
Here.
Board Member Hoffman,
Here.
Board Member Ritter,
Yes, here.
Alternate Bartlesmeyer,
Here.
Alternate Loja, Council Liaison McCutcheon, and Commission Liaison Lee. Thank you.
Okay. There, any action on the April, we didn't have a May meeting for the April 23rd meeting minutes. I reviewed them quickly and they seem fine to me. Now, I have the April 23rd ones signed, or no, the ones before that, the ones I signed at the April 23rd. I'll have to bring those up and drop them off with you.
I move, I move we accept them as written.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, we'll move to accept the meeting minutes as written. All right, review the agenda items to be discussed tonight.
Acting Chair Hensick, could we just have a voice vote on the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I'm not smooth at this yet.
You're doing fine, sir.
Can we have a vote to approve the April 23rd minutes as written?
Aye.
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 That's all. Minutes approved as written.
Thank you again.
I have to ask you this. No, me, I have to review this tonight's section. Okay, by me. Okay. Review items to be discussed. So we're going to have the second review of the architectural elevations and related items for the Durga. Tell me if I say this wrong. The Durga Temple of St. Louis. 5.72 acres located on the west side of State Route 109, north of Babbler Forest Drive. And, I know they presented more rendered elevations and plans, and rendered site plan. This. Correct me now, do I just go quick anything on that? Then we'll, the second item we were reviewing tonight is the related materials or approved 5-story multifamily apartment building with associated first floor commercial space located on 2.2 acres of a larger 5.3 acre site. I forgot the and review by architectural review. And review of the architectural review elevation materials for approval, 5-story building. And third one is review of the architectural. Oh, review of the model for the identify the lots for housing throughout. Let me start by reading. Review and discussion of certain architectural elevations for several identified lots and the required variety of housing models throughout the overall development. It's like, what seems to be missing here? Oh, prime place at Wildwood. I'm sorry, I missed the whole title. It's like, excuse me. So I think there was 2 of those. Oh, that's 3. Lots 9A, 16A, and 52B. Oh, even more. Right.
Yes, there's a total of 4, sir.
I gotta move them up. I'm stuck there. Let's see. Oh, 9A, 16A, 52B, and there's 2B. There's 2 on 52B. There's 2 different elevations.
52B and 58B.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I can't say. There's George. He can take over now. I'm sorry, yeah. Shows how good my eyesight is, 52B and 58B. So that's tonight's agenda. Okay, George, now that you're here, you can take this off my hands.
Mr. Crow, the meeting is yours.
Thank you. So I assume we already did a roll call and I was late. Debating whether I should stay at work and zoom in or grab the laptop and try to make it home in time. Traffic didn't cooperate. So Travis, have you done a roll call?
Yes, sir. Just to give you an update, we've done a roll call. We've approved the minutes from the April 23rd meeting, and Mr. Hensick just finished going over the agenda items that are on the agenda. And we do have the petitioner for the first item, the Durga Temple of St. Louis, Salim Rangwala, on the panel to begin discussion on the first item.
Travis, I missed roll call.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. I have you marked down as in attendance, so thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could just do a couple of opening remarks before we ask Mr. Ringwala to proceed forward with the presentation he's prepared for tonight's meeting, I would appreciate it.
That'd be great. I appreciate you doing that.
Well, Mr. Chair and members of the board, first and foremost, thank you again for being in attendance tonight. We appreciate it very much. In preparation of this item that was first heard in April of this year, the petitioner's architect has provided a number of additional items for the board's consideration. Amongst those items is the previous written explanation that talks about the site characteristics as well as the building characteristics. Additionally, at City Hall for the past week and a half or so, building sample materials have been available along with photographs, color samples, and certain other items for consideration by the board. Hopefully all the members had an opportunity to stop by and take a look at them. Equally important in terms of additional materials, the board was very adamant that with regards to the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning components, that a sightline analysis be provided to the members so as to ensure that those units would not be visible from the surrounding roadways as well as adjoining properties. There were also a number of questions relating to the dome details, an ornate component of the overall temple design. And so I believe there have been additional sheets added to the package so as that information can be discussed tonight. And then finally, the department would note that during the discussion in April by the board, there were suggested modifications or items of study for Mr. Ringwala to consider and his client. Those items were identified in tonight's April 23rd, 2020 minutes that were just acted upon. It is on page 3 of 4, and they can be summarized there. I will not go through each and every one of them. The department does have the material samples in the room with it tonight, so if we need to, I can put them up next to my camera. It's probably not the best way to do it, but if there is a question, certainly we can try. So with that, Mr. Chair, I think I've summarized as best as I can the components of the April 23rd, 2020 meeting, what the board requested be added or provided in support of tonight's meeting. Therefore, Mr. Newberry, Ms. Arnett, our host tonight, and I are available for any questions or comments. And certainly if there's any questions regarding the use of property, why a temple is allowed or not allowed here, and what other efforts the city has been undertaking as part of this process, we'll be glad to respond to those as well. So thank you for your attention as always.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the board? We had, I recall one issue, Mr. Ringwald was going to bring in some sample designs where he's done this in the past to kind of convince us that this is meeting with the character of the Hindu faith. Are those available?
And again, I'll defer to Mr. Rangwala, but here you see a representation of a temple in Bridgeton, Missouri.
Okay.
Mr. Crow, Mr. Ringwald provided a few, so I'll process through those on the screen share here.
Thank you.
I went by and looked at the samples, and it appears they eliminated one of the colors they were using. But my question was the FRP samples, the kind of the bone white and the kind of the cream color one, where are those on the building?
All right.
Are these actually on the building, or is this just an example of the FRP and the colors?
Okay. May I answer now?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Salim Rangwala with Rangwala Architects. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So if you look at the sketch, I think one of the requirement was to do a three-dimensional picture of the temple, and so here you can clearly see that all the ornaments we've changed to white, bone white, as you'd say. We had initially done that in a darker color than the pink you see, but after further studies, and we've done both ways, it seemed to me that my client and all, we decided to go with the white. So whatever you see in this picture that is white, everything that is ornamental is in white. Everything that is FRP is white. So the dome is white. The steeple, so to speak, is white. The ornaments around the windows is white. The columns, piers are white. The rest is pink. Or whatever color I've mentioned there. It's close to a very, very light pink. So if we can go to the one in Shawnee, Kansas, I think you'll get a picture of so this is the rendering, and you can, and then if you can go to, yeah, so this one has the ornaments in pink. We're going to do it in white. If you can flip to the next one, but this is you'll get a flavor of what it looks like, including the roof, the man's, basically the canopy, metal canopy that you see. Now you see the dome and all is in two colors. So that we're going to do it in white. And here you see the RTUs. One of the questions was the rooftop units, which you can see it's been snuck in. And also gives you a detail of how all those steeples and all that, the dome and all are basically placed on the roof, which you can't see the base of it. If you draw the sidelines, you can only see it in an aerial view. But this is also in Shawnee, Kansas, and this was completed about, I believe, about close to 5 years ago. And the next one, this is also completed. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the pictures in, but it's very much similar to that. This is in Canton, Michigan. And it's the same thing. You see the temple on one side and the Haveli on the left side with an entrance in the middle, the connector in the middle. And this has been completed. Like I said, this was completed about close to 4 years ago. And it has the same characteristics, the same architecture. You see a combination of the canopy, the terracotta metal canopy, along with all the ornaments that we're talking about.
Mr. Chair,
Why do some have one tower and the others, some of them have 3 towers? What's the significance?
It's a local preference. Some of them,
Okay.
so I guess people with more money than, so it's all a matter of money at the end of the day. So the St. Louis one is being built exactly the way you see the rendering. That was the first one, but it has only 1 tower. And over a period of time, they're going to add 2 more. They have not done so. So in this case, I don't think 3 would be appropriate because the temple is not as large as the other ones. So I think the 1 tower works for them, and it's situated right in the center of the temple. So I frankly think 3 towers would be too overwhelming.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes,
I noticed on the colored rendering of the temple in Brunswick, Ohio, it didn't appear to be a pink color. It appeared to be more of a tan or beige. Is that just the rendering, how it was printed?
No, you're absolutely right. And so if you can go to that. Now, since then, I have added to it, and we've clad all that with plaster and the same kind of treatment. So it started off because of funds, non-availability of funds. We did the black wall, and then since then we've added all the plaster and all the ornaments. So this is not it. Just after this, so that's in Cleveland. Yeah, this is the one. So you can see on the left-hand side, we added, so on the right-hand side is the existing building. And I think the front facade should come up. Yeah, so you see that front part that was added on later on. And now we are going around and cladding everything with plaster. That's the stage 3 in this case. Now in our Wildwood temple, we're not going to have black. It's all going to be plaster, and the ornaments will be added on as we go along. But for some reason, I was not involved in the first phase of it. They did it with black, and then over a period of time, I'm renovating it. So as we speak, I'm working on a 3rd phase where we're going to clad that. On the right-hand side, you see that temple. We're going to clad that with plaster.
Thank you, sir.
But that's a good observation. That's one of those temples that didn't have all this, the pink. Yeah.
Is the one in Shawnee, Kansas still under construction?
It's done. The pictures are, if you go back, this is done. This is a rendering. And then the next pictures are, it's been built exactly as per the rendering.
Well, I'm just seeing a tube of caulking on one of the, right about in the middle. Somebody left the tube of caulking setting up on that offset on that left column. You got to zoom in, but it's there.
What is this?
You got great eyes.
I see it.
Yep, right there.
What is that? Oh, tube of caulking.
Tube of caulking.
Oh my gosh, is that right?
They probably don't even know it's still up there.
This has been, sir, this has been constructed about almost 5 years ago. These pictures were taken 4, 5. I hope they've taken it out by now. It must have. Oh gosh, these pictures were taken immediately after it was constructed, so you can see the planting in the front. They're still. So if you can move to the next slide, you'll see the. Wow.
Yeah, caulking's on the next photo also.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, right there.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You got good eyes. Oh, Lord.
I just blew it up real big. Looks like a punch list item.
Yeah, there you go. I missed it. I totally missed it. Oh wow. Oh Lord.
Does the board have any additional comments on what was presented?
I don't.
No.
No.
Councilwoman, do you have any input?
I like the one in Shawnee. That's my input. But no, it's fine.
Need a motion?
Yeah, I do. In my opinion, he's met the criteria we asked for. So I'd entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter.
Second?
Second. Mr. Hoffman, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Ringwald. We appreciate you getting the information to us in a timely manner.
Thank you. Mr. Widnick and Mr. Newberry for all your help and the board. And hopefully we look forward to making a great project in Wildwood.
Yeah, I think so. We appreciate the consistency of your design and an education on a building type that many of us haven't been involved with.
I'm still learning.
You all are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Man, you really
Mr. Vunovich, what's next on our list?
Mr. Chair, Michael Kennedy is representing himself tonight. I assume there may be other team members, but it relates to the Prime Place, the 5-story mixed-use project just to the east of the B&B Theater.
Thank you. You have any introductory, Joe, on the project?
Yes, sir. Very briefly, because I want to give Mr. Kennedy and his associate as much time as they need. The original submittal of the concept to the Architectural Review Board occurred back in March of 2019. The board received the information and had a number of suggested changes as well as comments. So in preparation of tonight's meeting, Mr. Newberry and I provided you the approved minutes from that March 2019 meeting. So that's why they're attached at the front of the packet of information. Mr. Kennedy and his associates did provide 2 additional renderings in support of tonight's discussion. They are the next set of pages, so to speak, in the stapled package of information. just as a summary, since it's been a little over a year, this is a 5-story building authorized in the downtown district of Town Center. The first floor or ground floor is intended to be commercial in nature, and the remaining 4 floors will accommodate up to 60 residential units. The access to the project is via Main Street and a extension of Eastgate Lane along the eastern boundary of the property. And all parking other than that which is on street in association with Main Street will be off street and behind the building. The city council did require cross parking agreement with the B&B Theater, as well as cross access to accommodate the cross parking component. The project has been delayed for a number of reasons, all of which I'll let Mr. Kennedy, if he'd like to explain. But they recently had good news relating to a financing option, and I think that's what's prompted tonight's return. So with that, Mr. Chair, if any of the members of the board have any questions about the zoning process, the status of all the components of the zoning process, again, Mr. Newberry, Ms. Arnett, and I would be glad to try to tackle them right now. So thank you again for your attention.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any zoning questions?
Thank you. And again, we appreciate your being here tonight.
Mr. Kennedy, it's good seeing you after all the years we've been apart. And how about you proceeding with your presentation?
George, it's good to see you again too. One of the questions that was outstanding in the minutes from the last ARB meeting that was attended by myself and Mr. Kirschner, it was questioning the potential for signage for the commercial component on the renderings. And so we provided the, there you go. We provided 2 renderings, one the full length of the building and this close-up, just to suggest that this is the area where we would provide the signage for our retail and restaurant. There you go. The signage will be illuminated with light fixtures that are dotted in here in this elevation just above and the signage, and just below what I'm going to call the distinguishing sill at the window sills. Travis, right, could you hold right there? Can you blow that up a little bit? There you go. Great. So you can see that the area above the arches is what we would like to use for signage. And it would be below the band. The band is, as you can see in this elevation, is a continuous shelf, I guess, or cornice. I don't have a name for it. Joel, do you have a name for that band? It's
an accent band that comes across underneath the windows there of the second floor units.
The light fixtures are much similar to those that are on the building on the other side of Main Street. where the signage is above the, it's above, oh, I got a picture of it here in my, it's above the storefronts. And it's shown in the ARB submission that we made a year ago, where we were showing you looking north across Main Street at our neighboring building. And I'd like to reference that for two reasons. There you go. That's, there it is, there, that one. And so looking north across Main Street, we can see some similarities that will be useful for us as well. We're going to, I think this is appropriate for the signage requirements for the city of Wildwood, that we not have signage that is self-illuminating, but that is illuminated by light fixtures that keep the light shining down on the signage at night. And this is important to us because above that signage on our building will be residential units, and we do not want the signage lighting to interfere or enter into the residential part of the building. Joel, is there anything I'm missing on that signage? It seems like we talked about more than just the lighting and the...
So the signs, you know, the signs themselves will have to go through a separate permit process, you know, that the tenant will handle. The idea is that there'll be a sign at the doors. You know, we've got, you know, for the amount of square footage of retail we have, we actually have some longer storefront areas because some of them are effectively, the access runs parallel to the street as opposed to perpendicular as it is across the street. So we're not going to have that many signs across the front of our building in the end because we won't have that many tenants as the, for example, as the building across the street. The lights will be of a similar nature. There'll be a sign lighter style that is a very minimal impact, minimum visual impact to them. They'll just have a post that stands off the building with a little bit of light and take advantage of LED technology to make them as small as possible and put them over the arches at the door locations into the tenants.
They also asked us to provide information regarding the proposed lighting of the building. And I think, again, we're talking about some downlights on the columns, on the did we show a can light on that?
No, we do not show them on here. There was some discussion about style, and I think that we were looking at doing a something that had a majority of light down. I think that fits in with both the ordinances and our desire to keep the light off of the residential area. The idea is that the lights would be on the edges of the major arch elements at this point.
Are there any questions about lighting that you would like us to address?
I have a question related to the passage that goes through the building. Is that, obviously it's going to be lit somehow. Do the storefronts wrap around towards the back of the building there?
In the glass work?
Yes.
No, they do not. But they could. I don't think we've made a decision to make the, we're not showing that wall at this time as a
Wraparound.
wraparound. However, it could be, and it wouldn't be a problem for us, especially on the restaurant end. There may be a need to actually put glass on the inside of that pass through the building.
Just asking. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Understood.
It to me that they do continue on to the west and east.
I think it's going to largely be an option.
Mhm.
I mean, the glass wall and the solid wall are, I at least think it might be glass for
A portion of the way back.
a partial way back, yes.
And those storefronts are set back from the archwork on the front, and there's a walkway that runs between there, and you can start to see it here with the shadow lines and the way that the storefront is set back. And there will be lighting on the underside of that will allow there to be, light on the walkway that is separate from any lighting that's on the face of the building. And then that lighting will also be able to highlight the entries where we have the canopies that, project out a little bit. We'll have some lighting there to make sure we've, got a good level of light. And then, of course, the passageway through will have, a good level of light in there too.
Can I ask if I'm assuming it's masonry portions of the building that appear kind of a dark grayish brown, and the lighter portions of the building, have those colors been determined yet?
Yes, we have a sample. I thought the sample was, I thought you had received a sample of the materials last year when we submitted.
At the previous meeting, we had samples there. Yes.
I hate to say I missed that meeting.
Okay.
So bring us up to speed, Mr. Vunovich. Were those samples approved at that time?
Nothing was approved at that March 2019 meeting. The applicant was told to do further study, and then we'd begin the process, not anew, but certainly with more information.
George, we can certainly provide you with the samples again. I kind of think that we had the manufacturer custom make this sample, and we had him model it after a material that we had found elsewhere, but we wanted his to be the exact same color. And I tell you, you can't tell the difference between the two of them. So we would provide you with both of those materials, and maybe even ask you, see if you can tell us which one is which. Because
so you're trying to take an east sample, like the drive-it brick, and match a certain brick?
Yes, and we did. We matched a certain brick.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to, for the benefit of the board, since it's been a year, it was not a big problem for you, Michael. I'd like to see that submitted again.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'd like to see it. Maybe
Sure.
black.
I think we can have that submitted for you. How would you like us to do that? Just drop it off with Joe and you guys will come by and look at it? Because this Zooming is not going to be the same as you having an opportunity to actually see it and touch it and
Right.
understand that it's I like the product.
Well, we've, with our last petitioner, Mr. Vinovich collected the samples there at City Hall and gave us opportunities to come in and look at them. So that'll work with us.
Okay.
I
can
have
do that.
one other question.
Go ahead.
That's related to the windows on the right side elevation, right side of that elevation. Why are there more mullions in the?
Somebody repeat that
12
question. I
I was
can't.
going to say the grouping on the elevation that's showing now on the far right-hand side, right there, shows a different mullion pattern than the rest of the elevation. Is that intentional?
Well, you know, we're in some design phase in this. At this point, we're still in what we call schematic design. And I believe that I have to say that our designer was trying different things. In this elevation, he does have muttons in the windows to kind of differentiate that section of the building from the rest of it. However, when he did the renderings, he dropped it out. They're not in there. And I don't think we'll have those muttons throughout the on the project when we go to the next phase. There you go. See, there's no muttons on this. The rendering was done after the elevations that were drawn, and some things are not consistent in both the elevation and the renderings.
I can understand that. It's part of the process. I just wanted to acknowledge that it was part of the process and not the end result.
Yeah, there's another concern you had. Go back one slide, Travis. You see this window on the far, it's not a window, it was a balcony on that side, yeah. And for some reason, he drew that with a white trim all the way around the opening. And I don't know why he did that. It's not appropriate and we're not going to do it. That's for sure. We don't care for it either. And I think in the elevations, in the renderings, it got even worse. It looks like a frame of white around that opening. We would do it like we're doing everything else with a sill and a head. And there you go. We would return the brick back into the opening on both sides. I think that would look better. Also notice, I want to point out to you that there is a distinguishing element, which we were talking about earlier, just below the windows on the second floor. That band is continuous and it goes all the way around the building at that elevation, which we think serves to help distinguish the residential from the commercial. Not to mention the fact that we think that the arches on the street level and the storefront glass behind also helps distinguish this and identify that as our retail. And the windows and balconies above serve to speak plainly that that's a residential element above. And can you kind of go to the rendering again, and let's see how that band is continuous. Blow that up a little bit, because I wanted to point out there's a slight color difference. Wow, that didn't turn out so good. Well, blowing it up isn't helping, but you can see there's a slight color difference between. Okay. Travis is looking for, he's looking for a rendering, Travis?
Yes, sir. I'm looking for a bit of a higher quality rendering, digital quality.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so right, you can tell that it's a shade of gray, different between the cream colored ephes, and it goes around the building and continuously connects to the brick, through the brick, and then through the ephes, and then back into the brick. It's the band that doesn't change. And I'm hoping that you'll agree it establishes the retail from the residential. Yeah.
Any comments from my colleagues on Mr. Kennedy's observation and what he's trying to attempt to do with this?
I understand what he's trying to do, but right now, I look at the rendering, in the cream color part, you kind of lose it, but I get it.
No, you can just submit that color sample with the ephes and the brick.
Is that band the same color as that corner? The ephes on the corner, that band would be the same color, or is it a slightly different?
In this view here?
Yeah.
No, I think that it should be about the same color as the base of the building.
Yeah, but it protrudes a little bit, so you'll have a shadow line underneath it.
I think we can create more of a I'm gonna say, let me suggest again, if we put some depth and instead of it just being, it looks in this rendering like it's just a scored I'm trying to think of how I would phrase this. I want it to be something more protruding and not protruding, but have some depth and shadow.
Yeah. Protruding may be the right word. I mean, maybe not as we all think of it.
I tell you what, if we could go back to the same feature on the building across the street. Yeah. Let me point out to you that is what I'm thinking. Yeah, you see this, I don't know, right along under the windows on the second floor. there is that's the kind of definition that I think we need to achieve with that. Just give it a little more depth and maybe give it a little more shadow like that, and that'll define the residential from the commercial.
Yeah, I like that idea. I don't know if outset is the right word for it or not.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Outset is the right word for that.
Outset, yeah, okay, that'll work for me.
To bring some relief to it.
table.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a shelf. In fact, Joel, you followed me on that?
Yes, yeah, I was going to say we would put a projection there so that area projects out a little bit. And that'll start to pick up your shadow line, and that'll create a shadow line. And it actually should be nicely visible on the lighter color ephes too, because that shadow will be more apparent on that.
Yeah, I agree.
I would suggest that if you're using an east for that product, that we get a decent slope on that shelf.
Yes.
Future water issues.
Right.
Yeah, that'll be important. It's got to be. It's got to be.
I've got a question about the storefront. It appears as if on the retail, it's all like 2-inch storefront, but the windows on the restaurant seem to be considerably beefier. Are those operable windows? Or why are those drawn so much thicker?
That's a good question. I don't know what he's doing there. But
Run them
Bloody
out.
architects.
Joel, what do you know about that? Do we have two different kinds of storefront material that we're looking at?
No, I don't think there was the intent for two different kinds. I think there was a discussion that the element that you see on the right, because it's got a little different detailing, it's where the restaurant is. The idea is that had a little different level of detailing on it, and that may be where that was being considered there too. Is to, I think the other thing is, that storefront window there, if you notice, does not go to the ground. All the other storefront, is your more classic retail storefront that goes all the way to the floor.
Right.
That may have been thought about as as not a storefront window, but a little different type of window unit there. And we're trying to pin that down because there's no reason it can't be of a similar style and nature there.
Okay.
I don't actually mind it being different.
I don't either.
I think that it's a different function. It's a restaurant as opposed to a storefront.
Right.
And then he may have been thinking that's why he has a beefed up.
But is that
framework.
still aluminum? Or is that?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure
made up with wood?
It's an anodized product.
Okay. And then my other comment, I think it came up in the meeting a year ago, the elevated terrace on the back of the building over the parking deck. If you look at the floor plan, is access to that only from those apartments that are along the north edge?
Oh, no.
How you get to that thing?
You go through the stairwell.
You cut through the stairwell. You'd think they had a door shown there, but they don't.
No,
there is a door there.
Okay, that's a door. There's supposed to be a door.
Supposed to be a door. Yeah, there is a door.
They just crawl out the window.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And if that's a door, I think we discussed, you've got seating for over 50 people there. I would suspect you got to get another way off that terrace.
Oh yeah, there's a stair that's been included at the east end of the terrace.
It's not on my drawings.
No, these drawings are old and very old.
Those doors will end up being in swinging because you've got to provide an exit off that plaza into the building.
Yep.
Yeah, and if he's got an exterior stair there, what's it going to look like on the outside of the building? I think we discussed that too at the last meeting a year ago. Is where is that stair going to be? Because you got a driveway right alongside that end. So how do they get out of it?
The stair takes the last space as you're looking at it in the lower right corner.
Can we go to the ground level, back one slide? No, that's the wrong way. Yeah, there.
So we're going to lose a parking space on the inside of the garage for the stair to come down.
Oh, okay. So it'll be pretty much tucked away.
Yeah, it'll be, you won't see it from the outside. It'll be tucked inside the garage.
Oh, okay. All right.
That actually helps a couple ways. It keeps the visual impact down, and also it adds a little more security to it, so it's not quite as inviting to the outside.
That's going to be enclosed below for security?
Not at this point. The
Okay.
will have some security controls on it, with the idea being that that'll be parking that's dedicated to the residents.
Okay. Well, typically we've always run into problems with exterior stairs, particularly with the fire marshal. They have to have a canopy over it because of the snow buildup.
Okay.
So how is that going to be addressed? Are you because
exterior?
Well, if we have to do that, I mean, if they're not going to accept the fact that this, they'll have a higher level of maintenance here because of the nature of the facility, and if they won't accept that, then we'll have to put in a cover of some sort over it.
I found that they're not very cooperative.
Right. Okay. Good. Thank you for the warning. Yeah.
The warning. Yeah.
Now, previously there was a question about the covered parking that was shown that's actually outside the garage. If you go to the rendering of that deck area, you can see there was some, there was a
big
projected,
canopy hanging out
yeah.
there. Yeah.
and that has gone away now. So that's no longer in the project. It was just too many complications for the return, I guess. So yeah, so those will just be open spaces there.
When are you going to actually submit corrected drawings? A lot of these look like they're still a year old. In fact, they're still dated March 4th, 2019.
Yeah, these haven't changed at all. And I'm going to say that our plan is to get you a set of updated documents over the next 30 days. When I say updated documents, I mean, we're not going to be going into construction documents yet. We're going to have to wait until we get the conditional commitment finalized from FHA on the financing. And when we have that, then we can blow and go on the final drawings. We do have some exterior elevation upgrades, and we have some site plans and garage plans and the stairwell shown in some, what would you call the drawings, maybe?
They've advanced beyond SD. They're some of the overall documentation is advanced into DD stage at this point. So there's some further refinements that are reflected in some of the documentation that aren't shown in that aren't shown in the renderings. So we can, so if I, sounds like, we'll need to take those and update the documents, update the renderings and some of the imagery, I'll say it that way, to reflect some of these changes that have been going on.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think that'd be a smoother process if we can get those revised drawings and then enact a review and approval on those.
Sorry, these what, George?
Get the revised drawings of where your current thinking is so we can act and approve on those. I mean, fortunately, if you have those in the next session within 30 days, we'd be happy to review them.
Well, I got to think about it. And the reason I have to think about that is because the equity, the cash flow to do a set of documents and start to turn this back on is one that our sponsor does not want to risk. We need to wait until we've got a firm commitment, not a firm commitment, but I'm afraid it's 4 months away. And then we'll have a conditional commitment. And once we get the conditional commitment, we can start engaging the $900,000 worth of design.
Understood.
Construction drawings is going to run us that kind of a number. And if we don't have a guarantee that we will be approved, although we think it's pretty unlikely. But when it comes to taking risks these days, who would have seen a pandemic coming? I'm not sure I can say, oh, this is going to go just fine. Nothing's going to go wrong, because things go wrong, and when they go wrong, you can be caught completely off guard. So we have made the decision that we have a 2 or 3 months, maybe 4, before we get that conditional commitment. And so we said we wanted to get back in here to ARB and kind of find out what are the issues. If we can determine what you guys really, want to see happen, or what things you're concerned about, then we can address those and be ready to wrap them up when we get the conditional commitment. Does that make sense?
Fair. I'm just offering our cooperation that when you get to a point where the design decisions are made, I understand there's cost involved in redoing renderings, but to be efficient on our part, I'd prefer to have the changes made and the renderings updated so we don't have a lot of attachments to an approval.
I agree, George.
I do too. We can't give approval on something that we don't know, that we do know is going to change.
And
let me and Joel talk to KAI about manpower and availability and what we can do to get you renderings or elevations that are more accurate and up to date. And we will coordinate that with Joe and let you guys know what we can get back to you. Maybe by, Joel, do you have a sense of schedule and manpower between now and their next ARB meeting? I guess that's a month from now.
And then we would need to have documents in effectively, what, in 3 weeks?
I don't think they're asking us to update the floor plans.
Right. No,
But
it's,
all this exterior stuff, we can
Yeah.
put that, we can make changes and represent that better.
okay.
We get it. We'll take the canopy off of the terrace and get the white frames from around the windows and
Right. Kind of clean up and bring this up to speed with some things. All right.
I think that would be good, and then get the samples again over to Joe Vunich so that he can make them available for them to see them.
Okay. Well, I will check on some manpower issues and see if we can get that done in the next, 3 weeks or so. I think, so I can't commit that right now. So,
Understood. We're just saying we're willing to review it that quickly if it's available.
right. Okay. I appreciate that.
Any other comments? Councilwoman McCutcheon, do you have any input?
Okay, I don't know the terminology, but on the front of the building where you have the difference of the baseline trim underneath the restaurant and the other storefronts, I'd like to see some consistency. I understand the different purpose, but I think looking at the building, it would be much more aesthetically pleasing if you had the same kind of baseline all the way across the front of the building.
Okay. Some of that happens is because
And then, and my,
so are you speaking about the base
I'm
material?
sorry, you're breaking up. I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I can't.
Okay. Are you speaking of the base material that's going across the bottom of the windows on the restaurant side?
Yes, I'd like to see it continue all the way across.
Right. Okay. What we'll try to do is give you a better view, because it actually is consistent, because the part of the building that's out that far, that base wraps around. A lot of the glass that you see in the retail area is actually set back about 5 feet from that wall. There's a walkway, an arcade effect that you're walking underneath. So you've got the wall that has the stone on it out in front, and then you've got the arcade walkway, and then you've got the glass wall of the retail. So I think it will read like you're wanting, and we'll try to come up with a different view that makes it a little more evident.
Thank you. Mr. Bartlesmeyer, we haven't heard from you. You got some input for us?
No, I mean, like, for the most part, I agree with what's been said so far. Overall, I like it. So I think it looks good. I agree. Want to see the material samples again, just to refresh our memories on those. But yeah.
Thank you. Travis, have you got a good comprehensive list of what we've been talking about so we can forward that to Mr. Kennedy?
I think between me and Mr. Vunich, we can, and Kathy, we can put something together.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, there were 5 items identified in the minutes from that March 2019 meeting that the board requested further consideration. I believe Mr. Kennedy and Joel have addressed them. And I would just say that I think we've got a good set of notes, and we'll put those notes together, and before sending them on to Mr. Kennedy, we'll send them to you just to review to make sure that we haven't missed anything that was identified tonight.
Thank you. Any additional comment?
Yeah, I'll make a comment about, this is something that Mr. Ritter brought up earlier about the different muttons in those windows, like at the northern part. So I actually like it because, I mean, the cornice at that roof is different, so I'm okay with those muttons, different windows.
Yeah, we were trying to make it look like it was different buildings next to one another back at the early phase of the design.
Yeah, I like that you did that.
Thanks for your comment.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Do we have any public that would want to comment? I don't see any faces I don't recognize on the screen. Kathy's getting drenched with that waterfall over her shoulder.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Trav, sorry.
I was just going to explain that the city uses a webinar form of Zoom, so the only folks who are on the screen are the ones we've promoted to be a panelist, and we do have some in attendance. If you would like to ask if there are any comments from the public on this item.
I think that's appropriate if the board and the staff are finished with their comments, that we offer the public an opportunity to be present.
Okay, and with that, Mr. Chair, I'll just give a brief explanation to those in attendance. If you would like to comment on this item, if you'll open your participants window or click the raise hand feature, then we will let you into video and audio and you can address the board. And we'll give it a few seconds to see if anybody wants to comment. I do have one who has raised their hand. I will promote. Kathy took care of that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I believe it's Jean Vedvig, so if she'll unmute herself, we can listen to her comment.
Thank you. Jane, go ahead.
Oh, I did unmute. Hear me?
Now I hear you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say I enjoy following this process and went by I think it's called the Station Plaza in Kirkwood today. And I'm not referring to the architecture, but just the fact of having the apartments above the retail would be a giant plus for our town center. We need the different types of housing in the city and opportunities for retail. So that was my only comment. And I thank you for all your work. I'm really looking forward to this project.
Thank you for your comment. It's always appreciated.
And Mr. Chair, it doesn't appear as if anybody else is raising their hand.
So I think with that, if there's no other comments, we can close this review. I look forward to next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Your son and all that.
I'm sorry I missed it. What'd you say?
I hope your son Michael and all the family's doing well, all the grandkids.
Yeah, they're doing very well right now. They're pretty much, I don't get out much anymore, but
None of us do.
all things considered, we're blessed and greatly beloved.
Good. That's good to hear. You're looking well.
Thank you. You too. I wish I could grow a beard. I can't grow anything up here either.
That's all great now. It used to be red in the day, but. So,
Okay, then. Thank you, gentlemen, and we'll
Thank
see
you
you
very
next
much.
month.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Vunovich, do we have further items to discuss?
Yes, sir, we do. The next item relates to a residential project in town center called Maiden Street Crossing. The Architectural Review Board saw it, actually, I believe several years ago, when it was just beginning its process of completing zoning and getting ready to go to improvement plans and construction. During the presentation by representatives from Payne Family Homes, they noted that they have an internal rule about not approving similar elevations next to each other or within the context of a block. For the most part, that is consistent with new urbanism and certainly the city's architectural guidelines for town center area. Over the course of the development of Main Street Crossing, Mr. Newberry has been very diligent in ensuring that that lack of monotony be adhered to, and the direction from the Architectural Review Board to memorialize such is achieved. Of late, however, Payne Family Homes has begun submitting more and more elevations that are consistently the same or very close to what's on the same side of the street, meaning next to each other, across the street, or certainly in clear sight line. It got to the point that the department was a little reticent to argue for changes to the elevations that might cause it to look different, but not necessarily know how the Architectural Review Board would receive it. So with the decision and the discussion terminating last week, the opportunity to present them to you tonight came along, and we thought with the week's delay, it was worth you all being advised of the circumstances Mr. Newberry and I are trying to address with Payne Family Homes, and give you an opportunity to make a decision regarding these four particular lots: Lot 9A, 16A, 52B, and then finally 58B. I'd like to thank Payne Family Homes for putting together the application packet. They give you the elevations of the proposed unit. They also give you the perspective of where that particular lot relates to the others. And then Mr. Newberry took the initiative today to go out and kind of take photographs of the same locations so you can kind of see it in real time as well. So representatives for Payne Family Homes are in attendance and have been promoted tonight to panelists so they can speak to this. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I'll let you, I'll let the board have any opportunity to ask Mr. Newberry, Kathy, or I questions. Again, we're just wanting to ensure that when Main Street Crossing is done, it looks very much like you intended it to as the review board. And so thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like at this time, Mr. Newberry can show you the photographs of the general area, then we can turn it over to Payne Family Homes if you'd like.
I think that's appropriate that we go that direction, and we will have some basis for comments when we see the photographs and the drawings.
Mr. Newberry, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair and members of the board, what I've prepared is a presentation for each of the four lots, and I can run through, they're all relatively short, just a few slides each. So I will just go through those lot by lot. Let me get that up for you.
While Travis is queuing that up, I just want to throw out there, Eva and Vince. There are a few other people that I haven't promoted into the panelists. So if you're expecting anyone else, there's a few names I'm not familiar with who they are. So if you are expecting someone else, please let me know who, and if they're there, I'll get them into the conversation. Thank you.
Okay.
Kathy, there should be Rachel Selman and Katie Newman.
Bear with me. I'm having a little trouble with my screen share here.
I don't see Katie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the first presentation. Try to make it full screen, but that caused me some troubles a little bit ago. And it did again. Okay, I'll just have to share it like this. It's not work. Zoom and PowerPoint are not working with each other. This is the exhibit prepared by Payne Family Homes showing the location of lot 9A and 10A, identifying them with 10A being existing Newberry elevation B and 9A being proposed Newberry elevation B. These are the elevations for that model and elevation. And these are photographs that were taken just today. This is standing on lot 9, looking towards lot 10. This is the Newberry elevation B. And then I took another view from standing at lot 10, looking towards lot 9 to the south. And we can come back to that if anybody has any questions when I'm complete. This is the exhibit prepared by Payne Family Homes regarding lot 16A, which is located here on the easternmost portion of the site. And they identify the lots that have been approved. 15 is a Quincy A, 16 is vacant and proposed as a modified Quincy A, 17 Quincy A, lot 18 is still vacant, 19 is the Fields elevation B, 20A is a modified Quincy modified elevation A, and then 21 is a Quincy elevation A. These are the photographs. Tried to label them the best I could with the boxes here. This is the southern corner, lot 21 and lot 20. And just a different shot of the same two lots. And this is the modified elevation, which I'll bring up later, that the department did approve to allow the Quincy elevation A to be next to each other with the change in material and the different, just the change in material. And then this is the lot 18 elevation B. And this is the northern end of the Heatherton Road with this lot 17 Quincy elevation A, the vacant lot 16, which is the subject of this agenda item, and then lot 15 being approved elevation A. And that's just another view of lot 15, the corner lot. And then this is a view looking down the street. We can come back to this, but this is what the petitioner, Payne Family Homes, is proposing for the vacant lot 16 being a modification of the Quincy elevation A. We'll move on to lot 52. This shows the westernmost portion of the site. Lot 52 is this lot here. Across the street, they've identified that the proposed, or the Ashton elevation H has been approved and constructed here, and a proposed Ashton elevation at lot 52, again, the subject of the agenda item tonight. And you can see these three lots have been approved and constructed or under construction with the Ashton elevation H and one Ashton elevation G, and then these two vacant lots here. So this is the Ashton elevation H elevation, which is the proposed elevation for lot 52. The photographs begin on the south side, excuse me, the north end of the street. I have got some labels here. This is lot 57, Ashton elevation H. Lot 56, Ashton elevation G. Currently still under construction, Ashton elevation H. The next home that's identified is the corner lot that appears to the east of lot 52. This is the view from the street. And then this is standing on lot 52, a view of the side of the home, again, an Ashton elevation H, which is what is proposed to be located on lot 52. And then finally, lot 58. This one's a little more straightforward. The department brought this to the board. It was good timing. The homeowner, I'll leave it to Vince and Ava to explain in more detail, but the homeowner did request some modifications to one of the elevations just for a different character for the home that they would like to build. And that concludes the presentations. I'll leave them up and we can revisit them, any of them that the board would like to see.
Thank you, Travis. Any comments from the board?
Travis, would you go to the first one?
Yes, what is shown now is lot 9A. Excuse me, sorry. There we are.
So, Mr. Chair, not directly across the street, but across Main Street, we would have two similar elevations. And again, we have representatives from Payne Family Homes that can explain more in detail.
It's becoming a little bit more difficult as we get down to the last few lots that we have to sell. This buyer requested lot 9 and a Newberry elevation B, which happens to be across the street from lot 10A. There are several other lots available, like lots 2 through 4, but those actually, the fronts of those houses face the community to the north. Their backyards, it's not a desirable property. They also prefer lot 9 because it has a little bit more land there and it's close to the mailboxes. We can address changes to the elevation with color. We can do a different color scheme across the street.
I'd also like to add that lot 9 is really across the street from lot 11, as lot 9A is a corner lot, as you see, but it is held to the far right of that lot. So it really is directly across from lot 11A.
It appears as if most of the houses built so far have got gable roofs with continuous ridge vents. The house you're proposing on 9A is, for all intents and purposes, a hip roof. How is that going to be vented? You don't have enough ridge on that. You got maybe about a 3.5, 4 foot ridge.
The venting's all been calculated on the hip roof homes. We have turtleback roof deck vents that allow more airflow than a ridge vent.
Yeah, no, but they're ugly as hell. Where are those going to be?
Travis, if you go down a few slides, you might be able to see them. They're way at the peak in the back. That's all you can see is that little bump right on the back.
I'm working off my Android phone, so the house is about a 1/4 inch by a 1/4 inch.
Somebody spotted that tuba caulk.
Yeah.
This is about the size of the tuba caulk.
Well, I had that photo and I could zoom in. I can't zoom in on this one. Can we zoom in on that at all?
What's his
I can see, I said, how many, is there just one?
There's one on that, and I think there's one on the back side of on the alley side.
Okay, okay, there's not, that, what size is that, like 24 by 24?
I think it's 22-inch diameter to fit between the trusses.
Okay, all right, because a lot of times I'll see them, they'll put them, you know, like 12 by 12, then I'll put 15 of them down the ridge. Of course, you don't have that much ridge, so, okay, I guess that can't be helped. At least you keep them away from the street. That's the only comment I had, Mr. Crowe.
Thank you. So Vince, you commented that the opportunity of doing different colors is there. Has that been discussed with the potential owners?
Comes down to that determination of the board, then we will approach the homeowner with your requirements. Those are the only two Newberry elevations B on the entire site out of all the other sites. Those are the only two in the subdivision.
What's the board feel about that? I personally think that's a good concession if we can get a color differentiation between the two. Mr. Henry, you look like you're ready to say something.
All right, I mean, what colors would be proposing? I mean, we're just saying a color differentiation, but differentiation, what's that gonna be?
We submitted the color palette when we first applied to the board. We would pick a different palette or different colors from that palette. We wouldn't do blue and white.
So one of the previously approved color schemes, as long as it's different than the one across the street.
Correct.
I don't remember the palettes.
It's all of Hardy Board's available colors. There's probably 15 or 20.
There's a lot of people in there like that dark gray and the dark. There's a lot of those. It's okay. It's a good color.
Any other comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, if there is no other comments, the department would respectfully request direction on this particular model.
Do I have a motion to approve the two lots with a Newberry design with different colors?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, board members. The next item is 16A. Mr. Newberry, would you go to the overall site plan, the first slide? And certainly I don't want to be construed as a contrarian, but when the original set of architectural elevations were submitted to the Architectural Review Board, I think we reviewed 15 or 20 different models. I guess I have a question for Payne Family Homes. Why are there so many Quincy's on Heatherton Road?
There are two different, if you go to the site plan, everything in green on the right side is an alley-fed house. We offer 7 models of alley-fed homes with 2 elevations each. On the rest of the lots to the left, those are the street accessed garages. We offer 7 models of those with 2 elevations each as well.
Yes, sir, I know that. I was at the meeting where Tom Cummings presented all of them. Again, my question is, if you're offering 7 different versions of, let's say, neo-traditional homes with 2 elevations each, that totals 14 options. What I see here is 6, basically 5 Quincy's right now, if we authorize this one, and 1 Fields.
I'll take a
Well, we can break down the new urbans a little more closely. The Fields and the Quincy are our ranch models, which appeal to older people that don't want to do the stairs. We have a 1.5-story model, and then we have 2-story models. I can't help that the Quincy is more popular and more appreciated than the other ones. We don't know those things going into the beginning of the project, but we're finding that the Quincy does identify with the home buyer.
Well, again, at the start of the project, you said you had an internal policy regarding not creating monotony. You're the ones that said it, not the Architectural Review Board. They memorialized it. What I feel like's happening here is you don't want to say no to your buyers. And so you're putting the impetus on the city to basically try to do what you can. And I'm frustrated by that because once you're done, we're left with what's there. And this was a long process with Payne Family Homes.
So real quick, the lots that you're looking at, lot 15A through 28A, those lots are deeper than the rest of the new urban rear entry lots. Those lots are the only ones that will accept a ranch plan. And of the 7 plans, we have 2 ranch plans, the Fields and the Quincy. This was the first time that we've ever actually introduced this product line. So we didn't have a good history of what was going to sell and what wasn't going to sell. Speaking to your non-monotony, I do understand that for a company, we consider the non-monotony as far as color schemes go, not necessarily the same elevation and plan. And so I think that we have done a decent job of picking different color schemes along Heatherton Road so that you don't drive down and you don't see the same exact homes, same color schemes side by side.
I can assure you, Mr. Cummings and the architect that was in attendance at the board meeting didn't say non-monotony was just color.
There's nowhere else to build a ranch plan. The only lots available left are 2 through 4, and I believe 9 and 12, give or take. Those other lots are too small to accommodate our ranch plan. We do offer a Quincy Elevation B, but it is considerably more money and outside the buyer's budget.
That's not what you said, though.
Pardon me?
That's not what you said at the original approval, the non-monotony.
I was there. I can't remember what I said 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like to do that, but we're just getting down to the last couple lots. If you know.
One, two, three. You have 5 at the same elevation. And one different.
It's easy to swap materials, siding, and color out. It's not so easy to devise a whole new elevation, which includes foundations, truss calculations, etc. New bids for siding. That would obviously delay the process and require another whole review board to approve new elevations. We have a buyer that's been interested in this for a couple months. Sure, we don't want to say no to the buyer, and he certainly doesn't want to hear no too when he's building his dream home.
On all these Quincy's, is the porch always on the left side?
I believe it switches on lot 15 when it,
Yeah, that one switched.
and that's to satisfy a more desirable elevation to Main Street, which is just to the right of that. So we flip the house over to provide a more attractive elevation.
That's on a corner lot? Yeah.
You'll also see that one has a vinyl railing on the front porch, which the other ones do not, to change it up a bit.
That's the only one with a vinyl railing along there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you have any color schemes that are darker than what we're seeing on the photos? Even though they're different color schemes, they're still all kind of light.
The Fields is a dark blue. There's some dark blues on the street behind it and around the corner. The Newberry we looked at earlier is just around the corner. It's dark blue.
Also, the elevation, if you go to slide 2, that we're proposing for this lot 16 is a gray. It's a darker gray, so it will, we feel it'll look nice and contrast compared to the lighter elevations next door.
Yeah, I like the proposed elevation better than the original.
What do we do with this, Mr. Crow?
Mr. Chair, what I would suggest, if you prefer this elevation, that as part of any motion, the color must be as shown.
Those are the colors the homeowner selected. Exactly.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I don't take exception to these colors. I think it's a good compromise. Anybody else have a other opinion? Board
What
members?
colors does the homeowner ask for?
Those are the colors the homeowners selected.
The ones in this rendering?
Yes,
The gray one?
yes, with the red door.
I did notice that a lot of the existing Quincy's have that half-rounded end vent. And on this one, they appear to be rectangular.
We try to offer a little more variety, a little more texture. Granted, it's the same volume, but we're trying to introduce a different character to it.
Yeah, I like the rectangular better.
So any other comments from the board, or can I entertain a motion for approval on this elevation?
I'll move that we approve as submitted with this color scheme.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any dissension? Motion's carried.
Thank you, members. The next one is 52B. And in terms of 52B, the situation is a little different here. But again, since we are coming to the board, we just wanted to verify. 52B obviously fronts onto Grover Ridge Drive, whereas the same unit, so to speak, actually fronts on the Centaur Station.
Do you have a proposed elevation, or is right now being proposed as the same?
This is the proposed Ashton elevation H.
And Mr. Chair, based upon the information provided by Payne Family Homes, the existing Ashton on lot 51B is elevation H as well. But it's side to front, not front to front or side to side.
Do we know what color scheme they're going to be using on this?
Rachel, do you happen to know if that color scheme, what the color scheme is on 52 compared to 51?
I don't know it off the top of my head, but I can go look it up.
We can ensure that the colors used on 52 are not the same as 51.
Okay.
Then again, members of the board, if you are favorable to this elevation on 52B, I would ask that you make a condition that the color be different than 51B.
I agree. Do I have a board member that wants to make that motion?
Well, I'll make it if I was going to let somebody else make one for a change.
Alex, Alex make it.
Make the motion, Alex.
Alex, it's up to you.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any adverse? Thank you. Motion's carried.
Mr. Chair, the last one is different than the previous three. The potential buyer of this particular lot, 58B, asked for some modifications to the approved elevation. And so since we had the opportunity to bring them forward, bring this forward to you with the other three, we thought it'd be appropriate. I'll let the representatives from Payne Family Homes describe the differences.
They're down there at the bottom of the screen. They requested more of a farmhouse look with vertical board and batten siding. We switched out from the previously approved elevation, we switched from the colonial window door headers that you can see in the upper left of the original. We took those out for a more simple flat trim. There are no other 50 or elevation G Bristols adjacent to the site. Those are the colors that the buyer selected.
That brick color, huh?
Is that a white brick?
Yeah, pink brick.
Pink, is that what it is?
It's probably lost in translation a little bit. It's beigey.
Yeah, it's a tan color.
Have you used that color in there in any other houses?
It's from a palette that was previously approved by the board at the original
Wasn't my
presentation.
question. That wasn't my question. I asked if you've used that on any other houses.
Rachel, could you, we'll defer that question to Rachel, who's the sales manager at Main Street Crossing.
There are a few different homes in the community that have white siding with lighter, whether it be stone or brick, and has upgraded to the black windows. It's a very popular look.
You drive through there and see what it looks like. I mean, I like everything except the brick.
Besides the brick, any objection? I think it's kind of hard for us to comment on color when the homeowners selected that.
Yeah, I know. It's just my opinion.
I understand.
The brick is going to have a little more brown tones than what this is, like 3 generations old, reproduced here, but it's going to pull out some of the browns that you see in the front door and the garage door.
I don't have any problem with it. I do like the black windows though.
And those a lot.
I think it's a lot cleaner elevation than the colonial gingerbread next door to it on the drawing.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of it.
I make a motion that we approve as submitted with the farmhouse style
Do I have a
and the
second?
color submitted.
Is there a second?
No.
Alex?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you, board members. We appreciate your assistance on these four, and my thanks to the folks from Payne Family Homes for sticking around to the last part of the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, board.
Welcome. Are there any more public comments before we close?
Hey, Joe, I wanted to ask you a question. I didn't want to do it with Payne Family Homes on there, by the way. It's like, how did we approve those little doghouse fireplaces? I noticed it in the pictures. I thought that wasn't allowed in town center.
It is not typically, but when the elevations were submitted to the review board, they were included as part of the package. Either, I think collectively, the board members and city staff didn't catch it, and they got approved as submitted. And so we've honored that action. And once a few got constructed, it was, in the opinion of the department, a little too late to go back.
Okay. I saw that and it's like, how did they get that? I don't remember that. I guess we just, like you said, we just missed it.
Mr. Newberry and I have talked about it on multiple occasions. As you know, we spent a great deal of time in Villages at Brightleaf making sure that if fireplaces and chimneys were provided, they covered the entire depth or height of the elevation, so to speak. So yes, it was something that was just an oversight, and obviously we haven't let it happen again since.
Mm-hmm. Won't happen again.
Any further business, Mr. Bunovich?
No, sir. We again appreciate your attendance tonight and your assistance. Hopefully I wasn't too rude to Payne Family Homes, but it's just been very frustrating.
No, you weren't appropriate.
No, you weren't.
As someone who works in the same field, I feel it's to present houses that only have two elevations is a little lacking. So, you know, just being in this field, you know, you have a tendency of people buying the same house over and over again to present just two elevations and then jam them in there like that is a little frustrating. So,
thank you.
So how many elevations did you say they had for that? And they've only used two of them?
well, it was two per model and they had 7 models, but then only 2 ranches. So you only really had 4 elevations for what turned out to be like 10 lots. So
yeah. Everybody picked the same elevation.
I mean, that's something they should have known going in, that, you know, you have these larger lots that the ranches only fit on these, and you only have so many ranches. You know, for us, we recently did this in Rock Hill, and every one of our houses presented 4 elevations, and we customized elevations and did all sorts of different things like that too. So
I can't believe that anybody would buy that Quincy when there's 4 other ones on the block.
yeah.
Well, Mr. Bartlesmeyer, if McKelvey Homes is ever interested in town center, we'd love to have you come and talk.
I'd love them to go out there and I'll buy one. So
I actually think all the houses in there are some of the nicest ones around right now.
mm-hmm.
Again, like I said, there's a lot of those dark blue or gray houses in there. Man. That's a popular color.
You know, the development's just over 100 home sites. 33 of them were the new urbanism. They didn't want to do those, and it was a requirement of the city. And so from day one, we've been struggling with this, and Mr. Bartlemeyer's I appreciate your comments. Sometimes Travis and I feel like, are we seeing something that's wrong? Are we wrong? Are we seeing something wrong? And so thank you.
No, it's no problem. And unfortunately, it's a lot of times it's it comes from the sales end. Like you said, they're selling something that and then asking for forgiveness. So
I had to drive through there just so I could go around the new circle and see how it works.
Actually, I think it turned out great, the two new roundabouts. And if you haven't been down by the tunnel under Route 109, it's a great public space area. So I'd encourage you to take a little walk down there.
Yeah. The thing I'm worried about is the roundabout there at Main Street, because if they don't get snow and ice cleared off it quick, because it's tilted.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that as well. Well, thank you all. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
I've got one last comment. I have a hard time telling whether it's me or whether it's Mr. Ritter on the picture, but I know I'm a lot better looking than him. Is he still around, or did he leave?
He's having mic problems. He keeps cutting in and out, he says, texting to us.
Mute it right now so he doesn't tell you what he thinks.
I believe, Mr. Hoffman, when you do Zoom on a phone, you're limited to maybe 4 of the participants.
I see myself down in the corner and whoever's on the screen. That's it.
Yes, if
Yeah,
you're
I
on
wish
it.
I
The
need a
main
camera on my
screen on
computer.
your phone. I think the main screen on a phone defaults to speaker view. You should be able to I think you can swipe one way, but I'm not sure which way it is to see like 4 other people in the call.
Chat 5? What's that do? Nope, that didn't do it.
On my
It's
laptop,
working.
I can only see one at a time, but on the Chromebook, I can see multiple people.
Yeah, I don't, but I said I'm working off a phone. Need to get a camera on my computer, I guess.
Councilmember McCutcheon, on your laptop at the top, there should be a button that says gallery view. And if you click that, you should be able to see more people.
Yeah, it doesn't show up on my laptop. It shows up on my Chromebook, but not my laptop. I've had issues with that trying to do meetings for work. I don't know what. Maybe my laptop is too old. I don't know.
Well, thanks again.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you all for attending.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Hey, real quick, Travis, how you want to get me the minutes so I can sign them? And I'll come by Study Hall or anything? Or am I allowed in?
I'll make a note to send you an email with a game plan to get the last couple of ones signed.
Okay. I got the one from last time signed laying on my cabinet over here.
We'll get them taken care of.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can he electronically sign it?
Yeah, that's the approach I've taken with the Planning and Zoning Commission secretary. So